Hey guys, Lon from the ECOM Zone here, and today I'm going to be discussing the 3 biggest challenges that I'm facing this year as a dropshipper. Now, I'm in a new space here, and it's quite echoey. I'm not too sure if you can pick up on it. And also, I know a lot of you guys have been complaining about the mic quality, and honestly, I don't know. Like DJI, I put it here, and it still sucks. So this can is basically holding up the mic today, and hopefully it's better. So not a lot of people talk about this, but I've been dropshipping for 5 years now, and this year has been one of the most difficult years ever, and mainly due to these 3 points. You got tariffs imposed by Trump on China. You got Meta ads constantly trying to keep up with AI, so they're constantly rolling out updates, and performance has been very, very volatile. And the third challenge that I'm facing is to do with the effect of the economy downturn. Unemployment rates are higher, disposable income is lower, and people just don't have money to spend on necessities. So in this video, I'm going to go through those 3 points. So the first one, earlier this year, Trump removed the de minimis exemption rule on China, and he also imposed tariffs on China up to like 145%. I mean, he did reduce it back down to around 54% or something like that, but that's still expensive. My products aren't really high perceived value products. They're kind of like in the middle. And so when you increase product prices on products that aren't high perceived value items and your margins are quite tight already, it just cuts into your profits. Your conversion rates for US customers will reduce because you're charging a higher price. So for me, I've increased all my product prices to the US by 16%. So all my customers from the US who lands onto my website basically has to pay 16% more. And that's a lot. So something that costs £100 is already £116. And when it's a product that they can basically buy another version of, like in Walmart or somewhere else or online on Amazon, they probably won't be buying from me. And that's why I've seen a big conversion rate drop with US customers. And yes, you may say, oh, why don't you just sell in other countries? Now I do. I sell to the US, UK, Australia, Canada, Germany, France, etc. But when your biggest market is the US, so over the past 5 years, US accounts for around 45% of my sales. So I've generated over $5.8 million from my store. So you can see it's about like 3 million is from US. And I can't simply just cut out the US, right? I still have to sell to them, and they still bring in sales, even with an increased price rate of 16%. Kind of insane, to be honest. And we just have to hope that Trump lowers the tariffs or introduce back the de minimis exemption. But honestly, I don't think he will, because it seems like the logistics teams have worked around the problem. So there's no delays at the ports. There's no issues. No one's really been talking about any issues with the de minimis exemption going. So unfortunately, guys, I don't think tariffs on China will reduce over time, and I don't think the de minimis exemption will be coming back. And US customers are going to have to put up with all these price hikes across every country that imports into the US. So how am I dealing with this? Well, one, I could sell more high perceived value items on my store, but it's very hard to find items that are high perceived value in my niche. So I'm kind of stuck, right? Because I'm relying on my suppliers to create the products. And that's the problem with dropshipping. You're not making your own products. You're relying on suppliers to make you products. And of course, there's millions of products out there, but for my specific niche, there's not many high perceived value items. Maybe I could pivot to another store. So then I have 2 brands running. But the problem is, it's just so much work running 2 brands. Like, I have a video about all the roles you have to play when you're like running a store. It's a long list. So running 2 stores at once is just hefty. However, if I was to set up a new store, it would be a jewelry brand, because they're high perceived value items and people just love buying jewelry for themselves or for their loved ones. Next point is, maybe I start a fashion store, because people love buying clothes. You have to remember how often people buy your specific product that you're selling. So if you're in the fashion niche, People buy clothes quite often, like every few months. Now, if you're selling an electronic product, like a hair straightener, how often do people buy hair straighteners? Maybe once every few years. So you need to think about that when you're deciding your products. So within post tariffs, I mean, I've tried advertising to other countries as well, but the thing is, it brings us to the next point, or the third point, which is the effect of the economy downturn. And let's actually talk about that now because it does relate. So yes, you can advertise to other countries like Europe, UK, etc. But the problem is the economy in those countries aren't doing that great either. People's spending habits are changing, they're spending less on wants, they're only really spending on things they need. Now you may say, okay, but some people are still spending, but not the same amount. It has reduced over the years, and that's why a lot of people on Reddit has been complaining about performance, because people just aren't buying random stuff online now. Ideally, they're trying to spend frugally, they're trying to maximize their money. I mean, inflation's up, unemployment rates are up, people aren't making as much, electricity bills are up, water bills are up, everything is up except their salary. So that's why people are spending less on necessities. Now, my products, they're wants, they're not really a need. You don't need to buy them. So that's why people will be spending less on my store. And you can't really do anything about it. You can lower prices, but how do you lower prices when there's tariffs, right? Now you can lower prices in other countries, but you're just squeezing yourself and your profits because you have to pay higher AliExpress costs because cost of goods are going up, but you need to charge less because the economy is slowing down. So it's another big challenge that I have to deal with as a dropshipper. And to be honest, anyone selling anything online, whether it's service, product, restaurants, everyone is feeling this. And not many people talk about it. Everyone just talks about, oh, this is how you start dropshipping, make this store, run ads, you make money. But honestly, there's more to it, guys. And dropshipping isn't dead. It's just getting a lot more difficult because of these challenges. My best advice for this is sell products that have high perceived value, like jewelry, bigger fashion items like hoodies, trackies or trousers, or jackets. T-shirts are low perceived value items, that's why you can't really sell them for much, and I'll stay away from like t-shirts. What else? Another tip, trying to sell products to the rich, because the rich will always have money, so they'll always be spending. And so you don't need to worry about the economy downturn because rich people will always buy your stuff. And so cater to the rich, sell high perceived value items, and sell products with high margins. You want products with like a margin of $30 or more. Anything less, ad cost is just going to eat it up. Like Facebook ads is not cheap anymore. It's very, very expensive, especially depending on what niche you're in. If you're in a beauty niche, don't even think about selling like $50 items. If you're in a beauty niche, you need to sell like $100 items to cover the ad cost. It's ridiculous how expensive Facebook ads are. So let's actually talk about Facebook now, the third biggest challenge. So Meta ads are constantly trying to update and follow AI. That's the problem. And AI moves so fast, right, that they're trying to keep up with this technology, and it's affecting all their advertisers, including myself. Because they keep updating the platform, we're trying to follow their updates and trying to figure out, okay, what's working this month. By next month, it's changed. You don't even know what's working. They got such big rollouts and updates that it affects the platform, how fast you upload creatives, outages, so many outages this year that affects performance. Now they won't tell you it affects performance, but you can feel it. When there's an outage, your sales just plummet and it may take like a whole week to recover. Now during that whole week of recovery, you're still spending money on ads, but it's generating less sales. Do you see where I'm coming from? And that's why it's a big issue. And that's why you do need to sell high perceived value items or items with a high average order value. Like try sell something for $80 or more. And then also, performance with Facebook ads this year has been atrocious. I mean, the past 2 years, ever since iOS 14, it's just been going like this. Every week or day is different. One day you can have great ROAS, you're making £5 on every pound spent on ads. Next day, complete garbage. Literally just silence. Crickets. No sales at all for 12 hours, which is unheard of. I've been in business for 5 years now, and never have I ever experienced performance this bad. And what can I do? Test more ad creatives, test more videos, test more images, test more static ads, test more formats. You just keep testing, and you're spending all this money only for the system to update again. So you may figure something out and it's working for you now. Next week it may change. Is that quick? And it's very frustrating. Also, my ad account has a big issue where it doesn't track all my sales. So I'm testing things out, right? But I don't know if it's working because it only tracks 40% of my sales. So 60% of my sales, I don't even know where it comes from. Because the problem here is when I run Facebook ads, people are searching my brand on Google, then they buy. Now, Facebook is disconnected from that journey. They don't know that someone searching on Google is from ads, and they just can't attribute those sales. And I just don't know what's working. I use WeTrack to improve tracking with server-based tracking. It didn't work. Tried it for 2 weeks, and to be honest, it picked up less sales. So I switched that off, went back to Cappy, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. Ever since the iOS 14 update, I just can't track where all my sales are coming from. And it's very frustrating. I don't know what tests are working, and I can't scale efficiently because I just don't know what's working, right? And whenever I scale, it may not pick up any of the new sales. And so I'm like, did I mess it up? Or is Facebook giving me sales, but it's not getting tracked? So very, very frustrating problem that I'm having to deal with this year. Yeah, those are the 3 biggest challenges that I'm facing as a dropshipper that not many people talk about. Everyone just talks about, oh yeah, we're making this much. Oh yeah, guys, I started a new brand. I'm making £500 a day. That's nothing. No one's making money from £500 a day store. So yeah, it's funny because you get all this freedom from becoming an entrepreneur, right? I'm a digital nomad. I could work wherever I want. I could travel whenever I want. I could travel for 2 months and it doesn't even matter. But the problems that I deal with and the stress that I deal with is a lot different to when I was working a 9-to-5 job. A 9-to-5 job, your stress is probably just dealing with your boss, getting work done, or maybe you're working overtime for about 1 or 2 hours. But the stress you deal with when you're an entrepreneur is a lot different. You got so many things that's impacting your performance. And when you're not making as much sales as you were 2 years ago, it really does take a toll on your sleep. You're trying to figure out okay, how did I solve all these problems and put out all these fires? So I barely get sleep because I'm just constantly figuring out ways to improve my business, how to become more efficient at filming, editing, and all this stuff. Because I still need to create content for you guys, but I still need to bump up workload for my business, right? So it's a constant wheel of having to do a lot of things, and the stress is different. You need to be okay, what's the problems that I'm facing right now with my business and how do I solve it? And you can't just instantly solve it. It takes weeks, months. And you can't solve half the problems. Impose tariffs, you can't really do much. Meta adds constant updates. What are you going to tell Mark Zuckerberg to stop updating their platform? He won't do that. And the effect of economy downturn. What are you going to do? Tell people to make more money? So you can only pivot. And when you've spent 5 years on a brand, you have to decide do I need to pour more time and effort into this brand, or should I start another one? And you don't know if it'll do well, right? So it's that risk as well, and having to pivot and adapt to your situations. So yeah, the stress that you feel as an entrepreneur is a lot different to just working a 9-to-5 job. 9 to 5 job, you could just switch off your brain when you leave your office. But as an entrepreneur, your brain is constantly working. When you're with your friends, when you're with your loved ones, when you're with your girlfriend, your partner, your family, just anything. Even on holiday, all I think about is how to make money and how to improve my business. How do I solve my problems? Your brain will never switch off. And if your brain does switch off, then you're not really an entrepreneur, in my opinion. Like, if you're a very lazy person, you don't know how to sacrifice things, don't become an entrepreneur. There's a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. And you also have to sacrifice a lot of sleep that people don't really realize. You either have to sacrifice sleep, your entertainment, or time with friends and family. Maybe it's your gym time that you have to sacrifice. Maybe you have to work whilst you eat. Maybe you have to work late nights. Maybe you have to turn down your friends, meeting up on the weekends, etc. Because you just need to focus on your business. And people don't really talk about this. So it's gotten to that point where I have to work a lot harder and figure out how to solve these challenges, how to adapt to marketing and user habits. So yeah, this is it. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, smash that like button. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel for more content about dropshipping and e-commerce in general. Peace.